Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have server, student, and avid traveler, Katie Chipchar. We will discuss life after high school, moving to Italy for 3 months to be an au pair, and social anxiety. This is a phenomenal conversation. Katie Chipchar has used exposure therapy to diminish the negative thoughts when it comes to social anxiety, and we discuss what it's like to be an au pair. It is a great conversation. I can't wait for all of you to hear it. Everyone, welcome. Welcome to the Long Term Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Katie Chipchar, everyone.
Woo.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm 22 years old. I just finished my 4th year at MacEwan University, and I'll be going to NATE in September for petroleum engineering. I am a server. When I'm not working, usually hanging out with my friends, and I recently got into golf, so I've been doing that a lot this summer.
Gets quite expensive, hey? Golf?
Oh, so expensive. It's so expensive. I think I've been 14 times this
14
summer.
Wow, you must really love golfing then.
I love it. Not good at it for sure, but
fair. I mean, unless you're going pro, right? There's really
yeah, I know. I'm just there to have fun. I do get a little competitive, but I am just there for fun.
Sweet. Yeah, so life after high school. What factors influenced your decision to change your career path multiple times while at MacEwan University?
Well, right after high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I decided to take a gap year and figure it out, but I didn't really figure much out in that gap year, honestly. I just knew I didn't have to, but my parents really encouraged me. They were like, you got to get back to school or else you're never going to go. And so I was like, okay. So my sister was like, just get an arts degree, 4-year. She's like, you can choose what you major in and stuff. But she's like, at least your first couple years, it doesn't matter. You can switch into so many things with it. So I was like, okay. I was like, that makes sense. So when I went to MacEwan for just an arts degree and had the idea of switching to social work and getting a social work degree. But it's like a transfer program. So it's 2 years of just basically any classes you like, along with a couple required ones. And then your 3rd year, you switch into social work, and 3rd and 4th, it's straight social work, and then you get a social work degree. But unfortunately, I did not get in when I applied. So then I was like, what am I going to do? Because, it was not good.
We're still young. I mean, you could apply again.
I could. That's what my thing was. I'm like, I know that I could apply again. I could just do another year and apply again. So that's what my plan was. It was to do another year of just random classes, basically. But at that point, I was like, well, maybe I should do just a psych degree. Because a degree will help you in so many jobs and in life. So I was like, maybe I'll just get a psych degree. So once I didn't get in to social work, that's when I kind of decided to go to Italy. And so I did school while I was in Italy online. So I did another year of that. And then I kind of realized that I didn't want to do social work. And I kind of wanted to get my life started. I don't know. I just didn't. Of course, I'm going to get my degree. But then I was like, I think I should go to NATE. I think I should. And people don't talk about NATE enough. About especially in high school. They don't talk about it enough whatsoever about all the job opportunities there are there.
Oh, there's so many roles. And I feel like after high school for me as well, that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Even right now, I still don't know what I want to do. Right. And I actually just had a teacher who just recently retired in the previous episode. His name's Bill Boyne, Mr. Boyne.
Yeah.
And it took him until 29 to be able to decipher what he actually wanted. and he had finished his degree and then wanted to get into master's, then worked this job and tried this out, tried that out. And that's at 29. We're still in our early 20s.
Yeah.
And there's all these like factors all around, right? Like, oh, okay, like money. And then, okay, is it passion or is it time? Like, do I want to be a father, mother? Right? Like,
Yeah.
there's all these variables, but like, which one's right? But I feel like you're doing the right thing though, which is just trying it. Okay, like you try to apply for social work and then you didn't get in, but then you eventually realize that, oh, that's not actually for you.
Yeah.
And then you went to Italy, and was that when you were an au pair? Is that
yes, that's when I did my au pair for 3 months.
Okay. But still, if you had been accepted, I don't think you would have gone, hey?
Oh, 100% not. Like, I know that the reason there was like a couple factors that made me decide to go to Italy.
Mhm.
And that was a big one because I didn't know what I was supposed to do if I just wasted 3 years of my life doing university for something that I didn't get into. So that definitely pushed me to do it. So I'm happy that I didn't get accepted, because then I gotta go to Italy and kind of find something I wanted to do a bit more.
What drew you into the idea of being a social worker?
My auntie is a social worker and she has her master's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And she always, she wouldn't talk about her job much, but she always said it was like a hard job, like mentally. And I was like, oh, and so I kind of started to do research into it a bit more. And there's so many fields like you can go into in social work. You could work with kids. You could work with elders. You could work with, like veterans. Like there's so many different things you could do. So I was like, I do enjoy helping people. So I was like, I think this might be one for me and one of the fields I'll have to like for sure, because there's so many of them. So that's what really got me into it. But I never experienced it like firsthand. No, bring your kid to work day or anything. Okay. I didn't get to see it.
And what made you realize that you didn't want to do it anymore?
I was a respite worker for 6 months.
What is that?
It's like I worked for Children's Autism Services of Edmonton. So you basically just like hang out, give the parents like a break, and you just kind of like watch them, and it's like care. You're like providing care. And I know that lots of the people I worked with were social workers, and that's how they used their diploma or degree. And so and I was like, okay, I was like, well, maybe I went through it for 6 months and then COVID ended it. But I was like, I don't think that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. It was fun and everything, but then I kind of just, I don't know, I went to Italy and taking care of another child a lot of the time just made me realize that I love kids, but I don't think I could work with them for the rest of my life. And I don't know, I think I'm a good person, but I don't know if I'm like that good of a person to be a social worker.
I don't think it's that you're not a good person. It's that, some people have a different threshold with dealing with other people's problems, right? Because sure, you could want the best for others and you want to be able to help, but maybe your idea of helping people is making a product. Maybe it's donating to charity, raising money for charity. And some people just can't deal with that firsthand trauma. Like, it's heavy. And while, like, for me, I'm in psychology right now, and my kind of goal is to be a counselor one day, or a psychologist of some sort, like dealing with other people's problems. But I don't actually know up until I'm in it, and I guess I could really kind of decipher in my own head and create all these ideas. But then again, it's still open to change, because maybe an opportunity pops up and I end up going to Bali and just moving there for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
You don't truly know. Sure, you can plan out for all these things and there's all these opportunities laid out, but then you just meet that one person and maybe you guys just start a business, and that's just the most passionate journey of your life. You never truly know. And that's why I'm always just open to novelty and opportunity.
Yeah.
What are some of the most valuable lessons you learned during your 4 years at MacEwan, even though you didn't complete your degree?
So I did all my 4 years online. First bit because of COVID. And then the last bit just because my social anxiety. I never been to university, so I was like, I don't want to go in person. I'm scared. None of my friends went to MacEwan, so it's not like we could ride the bus together or anything like that. So I did it online, but I did learn a lot, like just from all the different courses I took, because I took so many different courses, and there's like, I never thought I'd be taking like history courses. Like, I never was a big history person.
Which class was your favorite?
I do like the psych classes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, some of the history ones I enjoyed way more than I thought I would. I was never, a history, like social studies girl, but I did enjoy those. So I did learn like lots of stuff that I'll just, it'll go with me throughout life and I can use it. But like the biggest thing I learned is that everyone is there to get an education, people of all ages. Like, it's amazing if you get your education in 4 years, you get a degree in 4 years. That's awesome. But then also, it's still amazing if you get it in 7. Like, there's so many, everyone has like a different experience, and you shouldn't be like judging people on their experience.
I feel that a lot of people think that it's some sort of race to compete
100%.
with their friends and then to prove to their family, to themselves that, hey, I can get this done in 4, and then I'm going to go into my master's and then, be ultra successful. But it's just life. It's not a race. And
no.
I used to say it's a marathon, but I retract. It's not a marathon. It's also like a long distance run, but life is a boxing match. It's a lot of high intensity kind of tests, some swimming in there, and then a long distance. I think it's an Ironman of some sort. And I think that's just the way it's been designed. And I feel like in our 20s right now, it's so overwhelming because I know people we went to high school with that are full-fledged, in their job, making a ton of money. Some of them are getting married, and some of them have like are house owners. And then here I am just doing podcasts 3 times a week, like working and then still going to school in my 3rd year. And it's like, then I see all these high achievers and I go, wow, look at them. But then that's not me, that's
I know.
That's them. And like, what good for them. It's just, we have our own battles. We have our own paths, and it's good to revel and to recognize that, hey, I did go to MacEwan for all those years, right? You did, even though it was online, you do recognize that you went to Italy, and it's good to take a step back. Okay? Do you struggle with comparison at all?
I did a lot. Now I think that I'm a little bit better because I've realized that everyone is doing, like, going through life different speeds, different paces, and like, we're all just the end goal, trying to be happy, and I don't know, I don't sometimes, honestly, when I see like the Instagram posts and it's like, oh, just got my degree, like, oh,
I saw that so many last year and this year. Yeah.
Like a couple months ago, I was like, oh, I'm like, am I behind?
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little bit because I'm 4 years,
no,
but
don't worry, I'm beyond too.
Okay.
No, but even then, that's like subjective.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, it's so different from like high school. I feel like in high school, it's like really like comparing because you're actually all in like the same place doing the same thing. But after high school, you can't compare. Like, people have so many different things going on, and you can't compare.
But then again, though, sure, it's they got their degree, but then you're also like, lots of those people didn't travel as much, or maybe they wish they had more closer relationships. It's like, we're always looking to the area that we're lacking in, and we see ourselves in that position, and we compare ourselves. But it's like, it's such a lost cause, because it's just really, if you are them, right, would you want that? Like, you don't know them, or
Yeah,
you don't know their problems, you don't know what they're going through, you don't know the sacrifices that it took to get there.
exactly.
Like, my rule is right now, to antidote to that for me is, okay, if I compare myself to a person, do I want to be that person? Do I want to wake up the next day and be that person? And the answer is always no.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, I like living me and like waking up tomorrow as me. Because then when you wake up as that person, you wouldn't know that person, right?
Yeah.
And we just see kind of the highlight, and we see the person that's getting a degree, the person that's getting married, has children, they look ultra happy, but we don't truly know them.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean?
Yeah.
What motivated you to pursue petroleum engineering at NAIT, and how do you feel about this new direction in your academic journey?
Well, I'm very excited about going to NAIT
That's it.
in September. I never even thought about like going to a trade school. It just never, I don't know, growing up, I feel like they show you so much, like they show you like 6 career options. They're like, be a teacher, be a doctor, like they don't show you everything. And so I didn't even know much about NAIT, and that you can get diplomas for so many things, and it could really benefit you and get you a good job. But my dad, he is the one that's been kind of whispering in my ear for a long time. But obviously, I was younger and I was like, I'm not listening to him. He's never right. No. So I just pushed it off. But he's been in the oil and gas industry for quite a while. So he's kind of been like mentioning it to me. It's always kind of been in the back of my head, but I don't know. I wouldn't say he's the sole reason. He's the one who just put it into my head. And then I kind of did some research myself about it. And I was like, okay. I was like, it actually seems interesting. I'm not in the program yet, so I don't know too much about it. But just from like things I've researched and what my dad has told me, it seems like an interesting. And honestly, I'd be lying if I said that the money part didn't draw me into it. We live in Alberta. There's quite a bit of money.
There's a lot of opportunity in petroleum engineering.
Yes, there's quite a bit of money in oil and gas in Alberta. So that, and I understand how people, like, it's not just the money for sure. I'm not going to go do 2 years of my life and have this career just for the money. But I think it's not talked about enough how much money does affect your life. And I understand people want to go into a career that they're passionate about and that money doesn't matter. But unfortunately, with the cost of everything now, you do have to consider it. Certain jobs, you won't make enough to buy a house on your own in this economy. And I do want to be independent, financially independent one day. And I think that this job would really get me there. And I do have interest in it as well, not just the money.
Yeah, you mentioned that money is a factor, and yes, it is. I mean, majority of the people that just based on, I got really interested in kind of money and finances and read a bunch of finance books. And I think the average person is like something like 20 grand in debt. Don't quote me on that, but it's just like, it's horrible. Just like a single family home costs like $500,000, and like the average pay for a Canadian is like 60 grand. And that's just Canada. The US, it's even worse.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's one of those things where you cannot live a truly fulfilling life if you have trouble just finding food and finding kind of, you can't really travel and do the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that Italy trip alone, hey, must have just given you insight onto how expensive life can truly be.
Yes, 100%.
And like we never learned about that in high school.
No.
We took that like comm class.
Oh,
Like,
in grade 10.
yeah, but it was
Yes.
kind of just like a little Monopoly thing, or not Monopoly, like Sims.
Yeah.
Nobody really took it seriously, but money is massive. That's why, like, I try to save as best as I can. Try not to eat out as much, and
Yeah,
try to save like here and there because it adds up.
it does.
Okay. Are you a big saver?
I'm a good saver when I have a goal. So before going to Italy, then I was like, I'm gonna save, and I did really well at saving. Obviously, spent most of my money on the trip. I splurged because I was like, when am I gonna be here again?
Yeah.
But I'm a decent saver. When I have a goal, I could be pretty good, but I wouldn't say I'm a great saver.
Yeah, but it's one of those things too, right? Where you don't know if it's right or wrong, right? You just kind of, you see something you like and it's just like, okay, I'm going to go for that. But then when you have an objective in mind, it's like, okay, I need to have X amount of dollars in my bank account because I'm going on this trip.
Yeah.
But if you like, it's like highlighting kind of what you want and the objectives that really instill those habits. And yeah, no, what's it called with petroleum engineering? What do you like about it? I mean, money is the
Okay,
good
well,
part.
money is good.
Yeah.
I also I don't have crazy insight into it. But from what my dad has told me, and just I have lots of friends and their parents, or I have lots of friends in the industry as well. They, for what they do with their diploma, it is more of an office job, but it is like important. So it's opening and closing valves for oil pipelines throughout Canada and stuff. It is shift work. So I think I'd really like shift work because the 4 days on, 4 days off.
Okay.
I get 4 days off. I feel like that's pretty good.
You do little mini trips.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have 4 days off. But yeah, I haven't dove into it too much, but just from getting like my schedule for next year, it is pretty intense. It's a 8 a.m. to 5, Monday to Friday. So I'm definitely going to learn a lot about it.
But then, yeah, going to school though, you learn a lot, hey, and you still got that MacEwan degree to finish up. So by that time, you'll just be armed with all these tools of knowledge.
Yeah. That's why I'm not scared if I go into NAIT and I'm into the program and I'm not liking it. I know that I do have something to fall back on. It's not like I'm right at the beginning again. But even if I do get my diploma, which I'm planning to from NAIT, I'm definitely still going to finish my degree.
And we're also at a stage right now where, okay, there's no kids, Sherwood Park, families there. So I think now is the time to be able to have that ample time to study and to try out the different things, right? Not just focus on this one thing, but also bounce back to this. And yeah, there's no obligation. So we need to be able to try all these things that may not be doable once we're in our 30s. Yeah. Is it okay if we take a little break? Yeah. So moving to Italy for 3 months to be an au pair.
Yes.
So can you tell me what an au pair is and what inspired you to pursue it?
So an au pair is basically like a nanny, but rather than getting paid with money, you get paid like room and board. So you'll most of the time move in with the family. They'll provide a room for you and food, and then in exchange for childcare, sometimes like housework, stuff like that. But yeah, it's mostly about cultural exchange rather than just hiring like a babysitter. That's what it is. And I never heard about it. It's not something, I don't think it's very popular over here at all.
That's the first time I've heard of it.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
anyone who's had
Mhm.
an au pair when they were younger or ever anything like that. Apparently there is a little bit, some au pairs in Canada, but it's not a topic here. It's not that big. But in Europe, it's a big thing. And two people I know, they went and they were au pairs. One was an au pair in Italy and one was an au pair in Australia. And both of them had pretty good experiences. One of them didn't recommend it, but was like, it'll be good because she was there for a year. So she was like, don't go for a full year because that might not be well. And also, best advice is don't book a plane ticket home just in case you have to leave early or anything. So then you don't waste that money. But that's how I really got into. Plus, I love traveling. This is like the cheapest way to travel, along with, I feel like you get to experience. You're really submerged into the place you are, the culture, everything. Yeah, that's why au pairing looked good to me. I took a really big risk though with it.
I bet. I mean, you're leaving your friends and family to go to a country that you've never been to, living with a family that you've never met. You're risking it.
Yeah.
So what was running through your head as you're planning this and in the during the trip, like to there?
Well, I kind of just threw the idea out there and was like, oh, what if I just leave Sherwood Park? What if I go to the other side of the world? And then, as a more of like not a joke, but I kind of was like, oh, I'll make a profile on one of these au pair websites where the families make the profiles and the au pairs do, and then you match together if you like each other. So I kind of just made it for a joke. And then the more I didn't get into my program, I got out of a relationship a couple months before that. I had no idea where I was going with my life, and I was like, maybe I will go to Italy for 3 months. And then it kind of just happened that I found a family that we seemed to fit pretty well. You just message a little bit, you do a video call, like a FaceTime, and then you just book your ticket and go. So I didn't have much time to really think about it, and I couldn't even believe it was real. Like the month before, like when I actually booked the ticket and left, I was like, I'm going to Italy for 3 months. Like, it didn't hit me until I got to the airport and I was like, oh my God, I'm leaving my friends and family for 3 months to go live with these strangers that, for all I know, they could be murderers. Like, I have no idea anything about them, really. That part was very scary, honestly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was like, I already booked the ticket. Worst thing that could possibly happen would, there's a couple actual really bad things that could have happened. But in my head, like, the worst thing that would happen is that they were mean to me, I didn't like them, and I just booked a plane ticket home.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, yeah, it's beautiful the cultural exchange and kind of the upside to it though. If it does succeed, then not only are you able to integrate into a family and the social skills that takes, and then living in a new country and living on your own, there's all these boxes that will be checked for you to be able to come back and use all that knowledge in the real world.
yeah,
Okay?
it was
And
so helpful.
Yeah, I
it.
bet. And it's just like living alone. What was that like?
It it wasn't. I did live in their house.
Right, but you're responsible for yourself. There's no
Yes.
friends or family that you could just go to.
Yeah, I didn't. Plus, they were both doctors. So it was never like both of them, the child and me, were all home at the same time. So it was a lot of, I had to figure out how to walk to the grocery store, get groceries, use the cash thing, walk home. I had to figure out how to. I'm not a good cook. I don't cook really at all. But when I was there, I didn't really have a choice if I wanted to eat.
You need to be able to eat, and if you do want to eat good food, you need to be able to learn.
Yeah, and that's another thing is their grocery stores, they don't have any junk food. They're such a healthy like society, like just from their walking and biking everywhere to I was craving like a fruit roll up or a bear paw, like child snacks.
Yeah, give me some Pringles or something. Yeah.
I'm like, please. I'm like, anything. And I would go there and they had like granola bars. And I was like, okay. And then they had like 2 types of chips. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, it's probably good that I didn't eat bad the whole time. But yeah, it was actually just crazy.
You must have felt very healthy during your stay there, hey?
I did. I had so many steps each day.
Yeah.
Because I walked, my main like role was to bring the little girl to and from daycare. And so I would walk to and from daycare, which it wasn't too far. It was about a 20-minute walk. And I just bring her little stroller, so plop her in after and then just do it home. I got in lots of steps there. If I wanted to go anywhere, I would have to walk even to the little like train stations and stuff. But it's all about walking there. So I was feeling great. Honestly, the healthy food. I was drinking a lot of water. It was hot there because I went in September and it was still 30s. Same with October. And like then November it started to cool down.
Cool down like plus 20?
Yeah, I think the lowest I saw it was like 15.
Wow.
But it was like so hot. I was drinking water, walking every day, no junk food. Like it was, they also don't have like fast food really there at all. They don't have drive-throughs. Yeah, it's
that's incredible. That sounds like a haven.
They have a McDonald's that is the craziest things. Have you ever been to a McDonald's like not in North America? Have you ever left North America?
I have. I've gone to Australia and the Philippines. Yes, and then just those two. But yeah, I've gone to the McDonald's there, and they have like in Australia they call it Macca's. I think they call McDonald's Macca's, and then in the Philippines, their McDonald's like has rice and spaghetti and
yeah, it's like
chicken.
So I didn't realize in my head McDonald's was just McDonald's everywhere. Yeah. But then like I went there, and of course they have like some of the same things, but they also have like these pastries and like it didn't seem like a McDonald's. It tasted so much healthier and better. Like it was, I didn't even think about
what would you recommend if I were to go to the Italian McDonald's?
Honestly, just trying like their burgers.
Yeah.
I don't know
like
why.
Like a Big Mac or like a quarter pounder?
Yeah, like they also have, rather than poutines, they put like cheese sauce on them, I think it is. Like nacho cheese sauce, but it's like healthy. I don't know. They like there's just so many things there that I was like, this is a McDonald's? You're selling this?
Maybe there's like rules and regulations that make sure they just don't load it up in like sodium and MSG and sugar, hey?
Yeah,
maybe.
Probably.
That's
but
awesome.
It was like a sit-down restaurant too.
Yeah?
Like it's not...
fancier?
Yeah, it wasn't like a drive-through. And I went to McDonald's like all over Italy. It's not just like I went to the one. I probably went to like 4 different ones when I was traveling. And they were all like bougie McDonald's. Like,
wow.
I'm like, I came back. I'm like, oh, this place, this isn't it.
Yeah, you gotta recommend that. That's so they don't drive as much. Is it because everything's just like closer together?
Yes, I think that it's because their country is just so connected. So they have so many trains and like metros and stuff. Also, the weather is nice. Like their winter, you could still walking, obviously. So I think that there's not really that much of a need for cars. There's stuff like everything is so easy to get to. Obviously, there are people with cars, but it's just crazy how many people are walking around compared to like here you see like people going for like their morning run and stuff, but it's not often you see people like walking to work in Sherwood Park or
Never.
Edmonton. Like nobody really takes the like LRT, but I think that's also because it's a little sketchy, but it's such a walking place, like all of Europe, which I wish we could do that, but we are a bit more spread out.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
I mean, it's just like, it's not as incentivized, but I'm sure there it's just like way more accepted. And then there are programs and systems in place, like better bus routes, say, and just better pathways. Like here, it's just made for roads. Like we are made, you cannot get to anywhere if you didn't have a car. Right? That's just the way Sherwood Park, Edmonton's been made out to be. But I think, do people seem healthier there? I bet you, yeah.
They do. They also just seem so much happier. Like, I don't know, they just seem like they want to be outside.
Connected?
Like, they love their coffee. They're always smiling, drinking their coffee. Once noon hits, then they have wine, and they're just sipping wine and all happy. Like, it's just good vibes over there. I don't think any like angry people, like rude people, and they were so. Maybe they were rude. I couldn't understand them because I didn't know Italian.
But you can tell from the facial expressions, right?
I think they were rude at all from their facial expressions. But yeah, I really recommend going to Italy.
It's incredible. I'll have to go there. I do have a bunch of friends that are Italian, and they just, they still kind of uphold the culture. And I went to my friend's New Year's party, and it was like a family thing, and they had food laid out, and the hospitality was like great. Everybody was so kind and compassionate. I'm like, wow, like I thought Italy was just about like gangster movies that I see, like
I know. I thought
like mafia or something.
The mafia was the big. I was like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my biggest fear. Like, that's what's gonna happen to me when I'm there.
Yeah.
And obviously, it didn't.
No, they made it back safely.
I'm home, so that's good.
What were some of the most memorable places you visited in Italy, and how did these experiences impact your perspective on life?
Well, I was where my home in Italy where I was, it's called Brescia, and it was between like Milan and Venice. So it was a pretty big city. I think it had like 200,000 people. But the trains that came away from it, there was so many. So I got to visit so many places, just even day trips. Because I had 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. off. So I would just hop on a train and go to a different place and just walk around, get a cup of coffee, get back on, and continue my day. Like, there's so many places I got to visit that I honestly can't even remember the names of them all. There's so many, just little towns, like big cities. Venice, of course, is a classic. Everyone loves it. It's so beautiful there. And Burano, one of the islands of Venice, it's the one with the really colorful like houses. Have you seen that one?
I have, yeah.
It's the cutest thing ever.
What's it like in real life?
It's the exact same. It is so cute, but like no one lives there because it's tourists just like come and like take pictures of the houses. There's like the locals, like 50 people that like live there, and I feel like they don't like all the tourists coming every day.
Yeah.
But there's not like a hotel or anything on it. There's maybe like 2 Airbnbs, which me and a couple friends that I met, other au pairs, we ended up staying there for a night. And we just, once all the tourists left, the last like boats left, we just like walked around. It was so quiet, so beautiful. I don't know, in the colors, like in the middle of the water. Like I highly recommend going there.
I mean, 8 hours to explore all around Italy. That's enough time. Like that's just every day for what, Monday to Friday?
Yeah. It
Were you
was
just exploring every single day?
I did since I was in school, I would spend a couple days. I'd go to this beautiful, like, old library that I stumbled upon. Just walk up there, sit in this, like, beautiful place, and I would do my homework for a couple hours, a couple times a week. The other times, I would either, explore the city I was in, because it was huge, or just take a quick train. I also had most weekends off, so that's when I would do overnight trips, like to Venice. But yeah, there's like so much to see. And with their train system, you can get somewhere in an hour and have a couple hours there and get back by, lunchtime. Like it's so simple.
Yeah. Imagine if they had a train system from Sherwood Park to Edmonton. Wouldn't that be
that
really
would
helpful?
Yeah, honestly, like right downtown. You just, honestly,
Zoom
I think
by.
we need trains, like,
Yeah.
but also the LRT.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
How did you meet these other au pairs?
There was a Facebook group chat, and it was literally au pairs in Italy, and it's like friends, like meeting friends, and people would just post on it and say, like I posted, and I was like, I'm gonna know no one, and I don't need friends, but I think it would make my time so much more enjoyable. So I just posted and said, "Hi, I'm Katie. I'm 21, turning 22 soon. This is the area I'm in. If anyone is close to this area or would like to meet up on weekends, like, message me." And so then I got quite a few messages, got thrown in a group chat, and I probably met and became friends with like 25 other au pairs, which was amazing because you got to hear their experiences too. And plus, they were from all different countries. So there was so much like learning, and it was amazing.
And you get to know about their culture too, because not everybody was just from Canada, hey? Probably from the US and all these different European countries.
Yep.
And they were all women?
Yes, we didn't. I don't know. Like, obviously, men can au pair, but I just don't think
I don't think families would be comfortable, hey?
I think that's a big thing. Yeah, I never met any, but they were all girls roughly from like 18 to like 25 who got out of high school and wanted to travel, or it's the summer between, or I guess not the summer because I went in September, but they just graduated. So then, like with university, so they're going to take a gap year and travel from all over the world. The one that lived the closest to me, like in my city there, she actually is from Saskatchewan. And I was like, that's the closest. And all these people are from Australia. I'm like, that's really weird. And I just got back from actually visiting her for the first time since we've both been back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got a couple days to spend with her. So yeah, there's so many girls, like
making lifelong friends.
Yeah. I'm trying, but they were all so like different too. And then I wanted to know all about, well, obviously their au pair journey and all that, but also about like them personally and the country they're from. And just, we would all like, when we go on trips, we just like a sleepover, sit in a circle and share things that are like normal in our country, but weird in yours. And it was just so awesome to like actually like find friends there that were going through the same thing I was.
Yeah, that's incredible. How did being an au pair contribute to your personal growth and independence? And I'm sure you kind of discussed that into interacting with different people, but can you elaborate?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't really know how to cook before I went. I did have pretty bad anxiety where I didn't want to go places by myself. I'd prefer if I had like a friend with me. But just flying across the world by myself, I learned so much. I grew so much as a person, just not having like my mom there to call and be like, Mom, what do I do in this situation? Like I had to actually problem solve and like figure stuff out for myself. And oh, I missed a train. Like, am I gonna start freaking out? No, I'm gonna see when the next train is. Just like stuff like that. You don't even realize you're like growing, but I don't know. Once I came back, I just like felt like a new person. I felt way happier. Just like, yeah, I don't know. The growth was like crazy.
I forget what quote how it exactly went, but it's like no person is ever the same person, even walking in the same pathway every day, because every day you're a different person, right?
Yeah.
You could sit in that exact same chair, but from moments ago, you just think differently. You're in a different state, and for 3 months, that's a long time.
Yeah.
You went to Italy not knowing a single person there, or I guess there's your family and being an au pair, and then the child, but taking trips, and then having a class, learning how to cook, navigating your way through the beauty of Italy, ensuring that you are fully hydrated because of the weather, exploring the McDonald's, finding friends in the au pair Facebook group chat. You can really apply all these same tactics in another country. And it's just like the traveling aspect, and it's just, it all comes together. And then when you had mentioned, when you come back, you're not the same person, right?
No.
When you're talking to yourself before the trip, you just fully, you're more capable.
Yeah.
I feel that too, where it's like, before a trip or before this insurmountable kind of endeavor that I've been kind of perplexed about, that I've just been so just problematic, and then after it's gone through, I realize just how much growth has been established.
Yeah.
Right? And then another opportunity comes up in the same cycle, in the same feelings, but it's just like, okay, it feels painful, and it feels like I'm being irrational in certain things. I'm overthinking, but it's like, okay, I got to do it, because this is exactly how I felt before my trip to Italy.
Yeah.
So can you share a story about someone you met in Italy who had a significant impact on your life?
Well, honestly, everyone I met in Italy impacted my life one way or another. The friends I made really did. They made me feel I never was homesick when I was there. It was nice to have people to,
The 3 months, not a single day?
No,
You didn't
I
miss
didn't.
your friends or family?
No. Everyone else, like all the other au pairs were like, I just got here and I've cried the first 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm loving it over here. I'm like obviously I talk to my family and friends. I'd FaceTime them every day, but there's an 8-hour difference, so it was a little tricky. But I obviously still talk to them every day. But I never got homesick. It kind of just like flew by. And I think I was just having so much fun and learning so many things that I didn't even think. Like it felt like I was gone for a week, which it was way more than a week, obviously. But just those, like the friends I met they didn't let me get homesick. They were so nice. It felt like my friends back home, like it was a little different because we kind of, not we had to force, like, it wasn't like forced friendship, but also all of us were in the same boat where we didn't have any other friends and we could all like relate together. So some I got along with more than others, but they all impacted my life, listening to all of their life stories and all of it. We'd go around saying bad words in our language. It was because lots of them didn't speak English as their first language, but at least everyone in Europe, I didn't know, but
you're just like, how do I say fuck in French, or how do I say fuck in German?
I like I would like ask them, I'm like, oh, how do you say this word? And like, how do you say fuck? And she would just go, fuck. And I'm like, well, what do you
Really?
mean?
No, like the different.
I'm like, you speak a totally different language. She's like, oh, we don't use like those swear words are like English swear words. We have different ones. So then she'd tell me swear words like what's equivalent to fuck in their language, you know? And it was
cool. So there's no like direct translation to like certain word, like
no,
like swear
apparently
words.
not. Apparently that they have like when we say fuck, like if they're thinking that, they say fuck too. And I'm like,
Oh wow,
what?
that's
but
interesting.
they have like certain words that
Cool.
mean
Yeah.
like a bitch or something, you know?
Yeah. I also know just it popped up in my head that there's like certain words that we have for and that they have for in certain language, but we don't have in English. Like in German, I think there's a word for getting a bad haircut and the feeling towards it. Like they have a word for that, like an exact word. And I'm like, huh, cool. I forget what it was, but it's just like little kind of cultural, like little ideas like that is just like, whoa, like I had no idea. Like that's a feeling that we've all had.
Yeah, I know. The languages are so, I don't know, just there was so many different languages and we all got to communicate because English is most people's second language. So we all did, like we communicated, but like hearing them, I would just tell them, I'd be like, talk in your language. And I just would just like hear it. I'm like, that is, to me, it sounds like noises, but they're like speaking. But like language just confuses me so much. Once I went there and heard so many languages, like within a day, I was like, how does this work?
Yeah, there's just the different behaviors too. Like, why are they frustrated in that endeavor when really that's like for Canadians, that's not really a thing? Or why do they say it like that? Or why do they feel like that towards a certain idea? And it's just your mind just like expands. Like I feel bad for the people who haven't actually traveled because they're so used to the everyday monotony and you kind of just get used to it. But I think you didn't have as much of a homesickness because I think after high school you just went straight to MacEwan, online and kind of like, especially with COVID. But then as soon as you enter Italy, there's novelty every single day, and you seem to be the type of person to just revel and kind of rise with independence. And you learn how to cook, you learn how to this, and you just every day you were learning and learning and learning. And I think that perspective shift that you had, it seems that exposure therapy to these things and finding solutions to problems seem to have given you a lot of purpose and a lot of growth, and you derive a lot of meaning. And now look at you. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's amazing. What are the do's and don'ts of being an au pair?
The problem is that families are so different, like the host families. I was lucky enough to work maybe 10, 15 hours a week, where there's other au pairs that have to work 40 hours a week. Like the kids aren't in daycare and they're with the kids the whole day and they don't get time off. So like I would definitely do your research about the family and just really get an understanding of what your job is going to be when you're there. Because if you're working the 40 hours and you are not enjoying your experience, like you're going to want to come home and you're going to miss out on so many things. You really have to find a family that fits you well too. If they like to go hiking, and you like to go hiking, you're like, perfect. You can connect with that and you can do that on your guys' days off to like bond more. It's just really about finding a family that like fits you, and you're not going to make their life hard for that time. And they're not going to make your life hard for that time. Those are like the big things. Do your research.
And even like as like their occupations, right? For maybe that's just they won't have as much time, so you might have to work, like, sure, they said 40 hours, but they could be like a lot of overtime. And then like the diet, like maybe you don't like vegans and they are a full vegan family. And it's like all these things where you have to go there not fully prepared. You can't really entirely be fully prepared.
Yeah.
But kind of have a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of kind of drop your expectations a little bit, because it is very scary. And I think from researching this, being an au pair, I've heard just like being in toxic situations and having to like getting kicked out and then just being homesick and wasting all that money. So certainly finding the right family.
It's a must. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the process like?
It could be different. There's like a couple different ways how to like become one. I know there's specific agencies where a couple of the au pairs, they paid a crazy amount of money actually. And the agency is the one who matches them with a family and buys their plane tickets and stuff. So I didn't want to spend extra money on finding a family. I was like, I can book my own flights and I can hopefully find a family that's good. So there's websites for it where, you make profiles and they make profiles. And you kind of just read them. And if you like them, you give them like a little heart. And if you both like each other, then you'll be in a conversation together. So then you start just asking.
Like Tinder.
It's literally Tinder, but for like families and young girls. Like, I don't know. It's
and
like
platonic.
Yeah, like it's weird, but it's like such a fun process because you can see, and they put pictures of their house where you'll be staying, pictures of like the kids. They give you a like Monday to Friday what the day is going to look like for you. Also, since I never was an au pair, I asked a crazy amount of questions just about how do I have a phone? Like, do I have to buy a SIM card there? I asked so many just little things. Do I have to bring shampoo and conditioner? Like, I only brought a backpack, like a hiking backpack. And so I was like stressing. So I'm like 3 months. Also, I'm in one of the most beautiful countries and I'm going to have the same outfits the whole time I'm here because I only have this one bag. But actually it turned out it was fine. I bought a lot of stuff when I was there.
There you go.
Yeah, I had to bring another suitcase home actually because it was bad. But yeah, the process, there's also just Facebook groups where you can go and people will post what they're looking for. But just, make sure you really ask questions about it. And also the video chats are very important just to know they're real. And that obviously you don't know them personally, so it still could go bad after all that stuff. But it's just a risk you got to take if you want to do that experience.
And I was watching this video about like a story, this au pair who had gone to France and it went wrong because the family didn't really like her. And she stated at the intro that she didn't really know why she did it because she didn't like kids. Now, I think that's like a prerequisite. That's like a must, hey? Like you need to like kids. You need to somewhat have like some social connection.
You definitely have to a little bit because purpose of you going is childcare. Yeah. So if you don't like kids, if you think you can survive like a month, okay. But if you're going for a year and you don't like kids, you're going to hate kids by the end of it. Like you're with them the whole time.
Yeah.
So I do suggest if you don't like kids, don't do it. There's other things that you can do. Also in the au pair world, there's the same thing, but rather than childcare, it's helping people learn English, like kids. Also adults, you can help them learn English as well. It's like on the same website too. So you could say if you're looking for an au pair, or like a tutor, like any of that. So if you do want the cultural experience, but no kids, I would go more like the tutor route. You could like live with like old people and they'll provide you a room and food. You could like help them, or you can live with like, I don't know, just like our age, people that want to learn English. there are so many different opportunities. You just have to really do your research.
What's the biggest mistake au pairs make?
I don't know. There's been like even lots of the au pairs that I met, they had quite a time, like not good. They had some bad things. One of the au pairs got access to the car. They like allowed her to drive the car. She crashed and lied about it. I think that one was bad because they
Why
were
would
like,
you lie? No, like there's no way you can hide that.
I know, and it was just like no, it wasn't me. It must have been like someone else.
Like,
yeah, I think that. Yeah,
that's terrible. Yeah, don't lie. That's
don't lie.
Thing.
Also, don't. I wouldn't say swear words in front of the kids just because they
absorb that and then they say it to the parents. Like, what are you teaching my kid?
Yeah, like you have to be careful what you say around the kids, because you don't know what they pick up on and what they don't. Especially mine was young and didn't really talk much. So at the beginning, I kind of was just like saying whatever. Like obviously not messed up things, but I was just like kind of saying whatever. Then I was like, like she does talk a little bit actually. I'm like, what if she just remembers this and like tells her parents that I said a bad word later? I'm like, huh. But yeah,
I know there's some like a small percentage of the population that does remember ages like from they were born all the way to like 5, or like they just remember that.
Really?
Yeah, there's like a population where they do remember their like 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, which is like quite, it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, I can't remember anything under like 10.
No
I
one
swear.
can. A majority of people. But yeah, there are people out there that do remember when they were 2, like 3, just walking around, which is like kind of crazy to imagine.
Yeah, I'm hoping that my little girl didn't, but also I loved her so much. She was like so sweet. She was the perfect mixture of like sweet and sassy. And she got very annoyed by me because I would ask her questions and she just like would side eye me and not reply. So to make her like go to the park and stuff, I would just constantly sing everything to her, and I have a horrible voice. So she would be like, Tepe, Tepe. And I'm like, you gotta change your diaper. Like,
it must have been tough, having that bond and then having to go home. I'm sure it wasn't easy to leave your kid that you've been looking out for 3 months. You seeing her every day, and then and I'm sure you're gonna grow up one day and like chances are she won't have the memories, and then you'll just look at her and she'll be like 8 or something, and you'll see her again and be like, I used to told you.
I know, it was so sad.
Yeah, you ever gone to those like family occasions and like you see someone you've never met and they're like, yeah, I used to carry you as a baby. I'm like,
you grew so much. You're like, who are you?
Who are you? Yeah, no, I moved to Nova Scotia. I haven't seen, like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's the second topic. Let's take a little break. That's okay. Yeah, lots of people that I ask on the podcast seem to think that this is like podcast where like you can only be vulnerable, like you have to share your deepest, darkest secrets. Like, no, that's just what gets, what people want to listen to.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that's the only thing that you like, that you have access to, or that is a prerequisite. It's just, it seems to be like whatever people want to talk about, which is on the next topic of social anxiety.
Woohoo.
Let me see. So serving, you do. Yeah.
I am a server.
Yeah. How has social anxiety affected your role as a server, and what strategies have you found helpful in managing it?
Well, it's affected me. I didn't want to be a server to begin with. I thought that I would enjoy the job, but it was that um having conversations with people that I wouldn't enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a while to convince myself to apply and become a server. And I think it triggered, like, what triggers my anxiety is people that, like, we went to high school with, or that you, like, you know, but you're not friends with. Also just people around my age. They just, yeah, it gives me anxiety just to, like, be with them. So I've definitely struggled being a server. When somebody I know comes in, or someone around my age range comes in, I tend to
How does it manifest?
I don't know, like, I don't know, I tend to, like, they come in and then I instantly start, like, shaking a little bit, and I'm like, okay.
Like racing heart rate, kind of the sympathetic nervous system.
Yes, and
takes off.
I know that I'm going to. It's like when you get told something really bad and you have, like, that lump in your throat, and it's hard to, like, talk. I just, mess up. I know it's coming the second someone. I'm like, oh no. So it's definitely affected my serving, but the place I work, the restaurant I work, they are really good about servers helping each other. So if there's ever a time that I'm like, I really, like, I know that person, I don't want to serve them, the other server's like, oh yeah, for sure, I'll take them, don't even worry about it. Or if I serve them and I mess up on something and I, like, stutter a little bit and I get embarrassed and super anxious, then they'll be like, oh, here, like, I'll go and run their food and drinks out. You just take a second. So it's a very good environment to, like, be in. And I'm slowly getting better at it. That's for sure. But it does affect my work ethic for sure.
That's great that your work accommodates for you in those times where you do need them to jump in place and be able to serve the people that you do know because it's making you nervous. Where did that stem from? I mean, what about, like, being in the same kind of age bracket and the people you know? Is it because the people have, like, preconceived ideas of you, or?
I think so. I think that high school, I wasn't the best person. I honestly, like, blocked high school out. So I don't even know the people that I have, like, heard or what I would say or any of that, but I know that I could have been a lot better person in high school, and I was young and stupid, so I think that follows me a bit up. I think there's been times where I went to the bar and I've seen lots of people I know and I got too drunk or I wasn't all there, and I think that the next morning you're like, oh, that I can't show my face ever to those people. I think, like, that's just where it comes from, is like, I just think that people our age that, like, know of me or used to know me or even don't know me but around my age are going to, like, judge me and analyze my every move, and it just stresses me out.
I feel that too. I mean, I had gone and apologized to the people I've hurt. I mean, I've apologized to you. I mean, I wasn't the nicest person to you in high school. And I think we had talked about how we're not the people in the past, right? Like, even last year, like, if you talk to yourself last year, that's a completely different person. And I think, I think it's running rampant that there is an idea that your actions are irredeemable, and then we are meant to suffer the consequences forever. And I have that thought too, where something bad occurs in my life and I go, oh, this is just the karma because I hurt that one person, or oh, I'm going through this thought because this is just the consequences that I have, the sins that I have to atone for because I hurt that person, or I hurt an inaction that I should have been there for that person at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, what helps you in being able to alleviate these feelings of anxious thoughts?
When I'm at work, the easiest thing to do is just to take a second for yourself, take these breaths. And if you can't do it, yeah, get one of the other servers to like help you. And just to think that, especially at work, these people that are coming in, they are not, no offense, like they're not there for you. They're there to like eat and drink and socialize with each other. And if I mess up on anything, it's like I just have to remember that they're not going to be thinking about it for the rest of their lives. Maybe I will, but they definitely will not. They'll maybe laugh once, maybe think about it for 5 minutes, and then it'll leave their brain.
Yeah. I think we definitely, I see it many times and I've heard about it. We have this spotlight effect where we think we are being watched by everyone.
Yes.
That everybody's analyzing our every move, or every single syllable, or every thought, breaking it down. But then that person is also doing the same thing, and it's so irrational. It's like that other person is also worrying about some other thing that you have no idea about, right? Like they have their own problems and they have their own kind of little quirks that they're just wanting to present themselves in the best possible light. But then a speech, the word goes wrong, they jumble up their idea and their thoughts don't align with their speech. But then it's like, you're not, like, especially if you're talking to them, you're also worrying about your speech. You're not going to judge them. And if you are, maybe you should do some self-work, right?
I know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like if they are analyzing my every move and judging me, says a lot more about them than it does me.
Yeah.
So I just try to remember that it's not that serious. No one's staring at me. Maybe one person by accident, like maybe you lock eyes, you're like, but it's not that serious.
Yeah, when you're interacting with people, it's so everything. But then I always think, after a century, after 3 generations, literally no one's gonna remember like all the people that we're gonna ever talk to, all the people we loved. And just on a secular side, we're all just gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Like I believe in an afterlife. I'm pretty religious, but like you think about it, like all the things that we're so honed in on, so fixated on, it's like a week later there's another thing that pops up, and that just gets like covered up by another problem. And it's like, why did I make that such a big deal when really I could have just not made it a big deal, right? But then you get into this loop, but it's just like, that's the power of the mind. Right? Why did you decide to take a job outside of Sherwood Park, and how has this decision helped you in dealing with anxiety?
I decided to take a job outside of Sherwood Park because of that fear of seeing people I know. And I know Sherwood Park like isn't that small, but it feels so small. Like you go to the grocery store and you see someone like every time you go out you see someone you went to high school with, someone's mom, someone's ex-boyfriend. Like everyone is just like so connected. And I didn't want working here to like get in the way of my like job, like my work ethic and all of that. I know that I would really struggle if I was here seeing all those people, and I don't think I would get enough support and like breaks to be able to go through like the whole shift without having like a bad anxiety attack. So getting out of Sherwood Park, it's like a perfect balance of you see people every now and then. And then there are like obviously people your age. So it's like a good of not seeing everyone but seeing a good amount of people, so you can like just practice. That's what I do. I just like try to overcome the anxiety like slowly.
Exposure therapy in small amounts, and I think it's like a U curve where too little and like you're kind of inhibiting yourself from being able to grow as a person when it comes to your social skills. Too much, and if you had gotten a job and it would just discombobulate you and make you want to quit and not make you want to come back. So I feel that by getting a job in the serving industry, which you said it is a big challenge for you, and you have social anxiety, and interacting with random people is a big jump and is a big step, and it's awesome that you're kind of making it happen, but to your own rules and standards, and laying down the foundation as to what works for you. Because if you didn't do it, if you just go on that, if you kind of see that U-shaped curve, if you just didn't take that serving job, you wouldn't have no growth, and you would just be stuck in this. The social interactions that you would have are just, they're too catered towards your needs, and you're not able to grow. But then if you had gotten a job in Sherwood Park because you want to tough it out and you want to be able to just like be strong, and it's just too much, and you know it'd be too much for you. But getting a job right in the middle where it's like the peak, it's giving you some growth, and you do see people that you do know, but it's enough so that it's not too many times to which you are able to kind of control your social anxiety. Did I absorb that correctly?
That was perfect. That was actually perfectly explained.
Yeah. You know, I certainly, I want to know what it's like for other people. Because me, I don't really have trouble with social anxiety. I don't know if you can tell, but like having a podcast, that's definitely, you kind of, that's a big problem if I did.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do have though is like, kind of like an idea pops up in my head, like something like completely irrational. Like let's say somebody had access to my Instagram, deleted all my photos, and then went to my bank account and just took all my money. But like, what are the chances of happening that though? Right? And I just like worry about that. And then I'm like changing my passwords, changing my emails. Like it's so like random. Like why did that pop up? Right? It's just I just have thoughts of like, you know, Murphy's Law? Where it's like everything that will go wrong or that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yes.
That's kind of, and so I am always trying to like, whether it be driving, it's like, okay, I need my glasses on. I need to make sure I'm triple shoulder checking because something is going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I didn't really know I had anxiety, but then I started doing a little bit of research and like, why is my heart going fast? Why am I so like, why is it so heavy? Why is everything so like everything is so magnified? All my sensory experiences.
Yes.
When did you find out that you had social anxiety?
In high school, I kind of started to put it together, but in my head, I was like, everyone does. You're in your awkward teenage years in high school. So I'm like, everyone has social anxiety. So I'm like, it's fine. So I didn't really like think much of it, and I would struggle, but I'd be like, everyone else is doing the same thing. And then I was just like after high school when I don't even know, when I just like I didn't interact with the people from high school every day. Obviously, you're out doing your own thing, and it just slowly started to come on me. I'd go places and I would just start to freak out a little bit and get blurry, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, I'm literally gonna cry. I don't want to be here. And then it just kind of like grew. But it's weird because I am like a very loud, outgoing person. So it's like hard because I'll be loud and outgoing. Like people wouldn't know because I'll be this crazy person. And then in certain situations, I will be in the corner with my face red, like freaking out. So it's like a weird, I don't know. I need to like do more research into it.
Well, there is the unconscious, right? There are a lot of thoughts and feelings that do arise like beneath our conscious thinking. Like maybe in elementary, some person like of the same tone of voice made you feel not as worthy, and then that same person, like not the same exact person, but same tone of voice, maybe like different race, different all this, but all the unconscious arises, and then you feel these things, and that's certain some things that I also don't know anything like why I feel certain things, because there's just days where I'm just mad at this one person, but they're like the kindest person. I don't know why, or I'm like worrying and I'm obsessing about this one thing that happened, when it's like I know it's not the end of the world, but it's like it's good to like take a step back and go, okay, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And this is just part of living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do like deep breath work or what, meditation?
I do always like to take a second, take a minute just for myself and try to do that. I also, while I was in Italy, I started like journaling to try to figure out just more, like I wanted to continue journaling. Obviously there I had a lot of stuff to talk about. It wasn't just like personal journaling, but I did also write some like deep stuff there, and the more that I like wrote it and read it about just how, like, I don't know, life isn't that serious. Like you don't have to overthink every little thing because no one's gonna remember. And like, I don't know, I tell myself that I understand it and I say it like confidently that I'm like, okay, all this, but then in certain moments I still get pretty anxious.
I got a good quote for you. We suffer more in imagination than in reality.
Yeah, actually that's spot
Seneca.
on.
Yeah. I think we definitely get so perplexed and to get so fixated onto the possible results of our expectations, but then in reality, the chances of that expectation actually happening in real life is so minimal. And if it did, let's say the thing that you worried about the most, the thing that you're just like looping back in your head, worst case scenario, it's happened to someone. And the human indomitable spirit got over it. That's just what I tell myself. Okay, this car crash that might happen, right? God bless, I hope that, God forbid, somebody's been through it. They got over it, or they died. but
Or
then,
they died.
Right, but like we get over things, right?
Yeah.
You think of the time where you were at your wit's end and you thought everything was gonna end, the world was on fire. You got over it. Now we're sitting here having this conversation. Like, you're telling me you were nervous coming here. Now
So
we're
nervous.
almost done. It's just, we think about all these possible realities, but we don't think of the actual reality. We just think of the possibilities.
It's always the worst ones too that you think of.
Yeah. But it's just like, it's just so futile. No. And I wish I just like a switch where I just like was present. Because if you think of like the happiest moments in your life, you weren't thinking about something else. Like, think about like the moments where you're actually in the moment.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about anything else. You're actually just fully there. And I feel like I've been trying to access that as something that I've been trying to work towards, where I'm like, if I'm gonna sit down, I'm just gonna focus on sitting down. I'm gonna focus on what's in front of me. But it's so hard though when you like remember that friend that made that little comment, or you mend that the fight that, oh, your mom's prioritizing this instead of you, and you don't feel like you're enough, and you don't feel like you're successful, and you want to do this but you can't, but then there's money involved, and then there's all these different variables, right? And it's like, oh, like life is so unfair, but then it's like, no, like I'm here, I'm alive, right?
Yeah.
I did this, I did that, but it's like going back to recognize, it's like a constant battle of like peace, and then contempt, and then there's anger, and then there's anxiety, and then overthinking, and there's all these. I love Inside Out.
Did you see the new one?
No, I didn't, but I want to. I'm
Good.
just like, when I
So
was explaining that, I was like thinking of like the little different characters.
I know, me too. The second you start saying them, I'm like imagining them in my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I've heard like every single person I've talked to is crying, apparently. Like every single person that's watched the movie.
It's like such a perfect,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it just hits really close to home for lots of people, and they like are like, whoa, that's what's happening in my brain
Yeah.
and my emotions.
You think it's just like catered towards Gen Z? And you think just us, our generation?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we like it more than like the children do.
No. I feel like we're just like a really sensitive generation.
I agree.
Like even like that's same for guys too. I feel like the guys that I have talked to versus like we're just a lot more, I don't know, in the feels. So I feel like that's just
Yeah.
been prioritized. But I feel like we didn't. Was it like all the mental health stuff at school or like?
I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you said it, and that's like
Yeah.
we have lots of emotions, lots of feelings.
But it's like being able to decipher what that means, though. Hey? That's definitely. Who's your favorite emotion in Inside Out?
I like sadness
Really?
just because she's just like so cute and just seems like a sad like mom. And I'm like, no. But they're all very cute. I like them. Embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's from Inside Out too, though.
Also, Alexa is that playing? Hey Alexa, stop. Oh, just triggered that. Sorry, I missed what you were saying. Yeah. So sadness, yes. Can you repeat what you just said?
Sadness, I don't know. I think that just like in the first movie, how sadness was like understood and like you needed sadness. Like the whole movie was that you do need sadness and it's not just like a burden and it's like okay for that. And then also just because sadness is like this cute little sad like mom that you just want to hug.
Yeah. I mean, sunshine all the time creates a desert. Right?
Mhm.
Then that scene where I haven't watched Inside Out 2, so all my kind of memories right now are from Inside Out 1.
Yeah.
That little orb that comes in, like the little core memories that comes in, and it's like it's a mixed of like joy and sad. I think that's
Yes.
like those are like some of the best points of my life. Like when I'm like in such a bad point and then I get through it and then I derive joy and I feel like there's like this little orb in kind of stored there. I'm like, those are like there's beauty in the struggle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like I feel like if sadness didn't exist, then there wouldn't be joy. And if joy didn't exist, then there'd be no point, right? So you need sadness and you need joy to be able to work. And then you also need kind of anger and then like disgust to kind of feel it all out, the human experience. What are some of the ongoing challenges you face with social anxiety, and how do you plan to continue addressing them in your professional and personal life?
Like I said, I still, because I'm a server, I still have that anxiety when certain people walk in and in certain situations. But also, like I said, the support, is amazing and it helps me.
Mhm.
Also, the small doses kind of thing. I think I have a good balance of avoiding situations, but also that small dose of like challenging myself and trying to overcome. I think that's what really has been like getting me through life, honestly. Just like avoiding the places I know that certain bars, I just don't want to go to. It gives me anxiety thinking about me in the bar. Just like certain restaurants too, just in Sherwood Park. Like I don't know, there's certain situations that I know that I'm gonna have really bad anxiety and I'm not gonna enjoy myself. And then I feel bad for the people I'm with too, because we're trying to go out to a restaurant, but then I'm having horrible anxiety and I want to go home. I'm gonna ruin like their experience, or make them come home with me. So avoiding those places has been like a big thing. Also, it's not like I'm missing out. I don't personally think I'm missing out on anything by not going to a couple of these places. But that avoiding those places and then also just going to a restaurant where it gives me a bit of anxiety, but I'm going to go and try to face that, overcome it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? If anything, I just leave. Just like slowly, or even, serving. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this table of 10 people my age and try to slowly overcome it and try to take deep breaths and rehearse my little lines. But yeah, it's just like a good balance of challenging yourself, and then avoiding the stuff that like, obviously no one wants to be in an uncomfortable position, but I think a little bit of uncomfort could be a lot helpful.
Yeah, I think if you didn't address your social anxiety and if you didn't ensure that you were taking the steps to exposing yourself in little doses, then you just like hide in a corner and then you back away from life. And then what'd be the point of that? Right? I mean, yeah, sure, you could shield yourself from the discomfort of having to feel all those bad negative emotions, but it's just the growth, and that's great. Good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I do have a friend though where it's like he has terrible social anxiety, and yeah, he just runs away from it. Like it's terrible to see, because this is just like a friend that I love deeply, and it's just like you see kind of the difference with a person that kind of charges through and faces it in the way that they know how, without actually just shielding themselves outright and locking themselves up. Right? What would you suggest to someone who kind of is in a very dark place when it comes to social anxiety and they don't know where to start?
I would suggest, obviously, getting some help. Like, there's no shame if you need some extra help. I don't think anyone should be shamed for that whatsoever. Another thing is also just starting small. And if you're super anxious about getting gas or something by yourself, take a friend with you and then try to maybe leave the friend in the car while you like get the gas, just like do little steps. Even try, walking throughout a mall, see how that is. There's so many people in a mall, obviously no one's looking at you, but just start small and keep like challenging yourself without pushing you like over the edge. That'd be my biggest one.
And like the barista at Starbucks, like just ask, instead of just laying down your order, how are you? And then expanding upon that. And then maybe when you return the next time, get their name or expand upon kind of the weekend. And it's just little by little, hey? And that's
little interactions.
And then in working out, there's this idea of like progressive overload, where you at day one you start off with this amount of weight, but then on the second day you go more and then more and more, and then maybe you have a day where you rest to be able to rejuvenate and recover, but then you come back again with more and more, but then maybe you go back again and you start off, but you're constantly exposing yourself to that. I'd say it's like a toxicity too, because like a discomfort, right? Because when you take those like little negative feelings, right, it feels toxic to us, but that's actually what's good for you. That stress that we feel, kind of that increased cortisol. And I feel that anytime that I've ever ran away from those feelings, it's always the bad thing. Like it's always, I always regret it.
Yeah.
And it's just being able to conquer that fear and face that fear. Were you always like that?
No. There were certain times where it was so bad that I also didn't want to do anything and go out anywhere, and I just had bad anxiety and wanted to hide in a corner, basically. But yeah, just I got through it. I don't know, I think also with age, it's just makes you like, I don't know, look at life differently and just start to realize that some things like you just have to face.
There's this idea of the bull charging the storm straight on, and eventually on the other side there's like sunshine. But then the cows that they're running away from the storm, they're constantly getting chased, and they're just constantly getting chased, and it's even longer. And then eventually the storm comes up after them, and they pass it, and then they do that same thing over and over, while the bull has spent hours or even days just chilling in relaxation.
Yeah.
And I feel that applies to all endeavors. And there's also this idea of like, there's rat A and then there's rat B. And rat A is on this on the wheel, and the rat is able to run whenever they want. But then attached to that wheel is rat B. And anytime rat A runs, rat B also has to run. You following me so far?
Yes.
So rat A and rat B, they're both running at the same time, the same kilometers, miles, the same kind of the same time, but rat A is doing it willingly, but rat B is doing it unwillingly. And what they found out was the biomarkers for rat A were that of health, of just improved cardiovascular system, just better oxygen intake, just better brain health. But then rat B displayed the biomarkers of that of an unhealthy rat, just like decreased oxygen intake, just decreased blood flow, and all the bad biomarkers. I'm trying to relate this to like the bull and the cows, and like, and kind of being the victim. And you've put yourself out there, like kind of, and you've kind of been in that. You put yourself in a situation. You don't have to go and be a server.
Yeah.
You really don't have to. You could just you get a job where it's like office job. You don't really have to interact with people, or maybe it's a stay at home job, work from home. And then when you do have to interact and you do have to go to that wedding that your best friend invited you to, that you're like a rat B, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're catapulted into that situation, and you're just like, you can't deal with it. But then since you've been constantly exposing yourself, you've been constantly just going to that dungeon, fighting the dragon, that is where you are liberated. Did that make sense?
It did.
That was a really far reach.
No, it did. It made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there kind of what's in for Katie? Like, what are the hopes and ambitions? It's a 5-10 years.
I obviously would love to go back to Italy. I'm not gonna do it anytime soon. I don't know if it would be to be an au pair or just travel, but I do want to travel more. I love traveling. It's something that like helps me grow as a person, makes me happier. I also do want to start to get my life going a bit, and I do want to like get a job obviously after school and start saving, get a house. I plan on living here, just so I'm close to my parents and everything, but I do want to buy a house, if not in Sherwood Park, then somewhere in the surrounding areas. But yeah, I just want to kind of buy a house, be happy, travel. I don't have specific, markers that I have to hit. The big goal is just to be happy and enjoy my life and take my time doing everything.
That's great. And I think you're on the right path.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the long-term podcast. Are there any last words to the listeners, viewers?
Hey guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for being so open to, being so brave. Talk about social anxiety and what it's like being an au pair, and then kind of with school, just trying all these different novel things, which is just good. Just can't lose that hope. you know?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has helped me actually so much. I
Yeah?
love talking about it. I feel like it definitely helped my anxiety, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. There's more to come, and yeah, I don't think you should really care what. I know it's easier said than done. You shouldn't care what these people from high school think, though.
I know.
We do shit in the past. Sure, it's not the proudest moments. People judge, but it's like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. But as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope and keep it long term. Peace.